Alright everybody, so we're back. We're going to do some more to the blog query, and we're also going to take what we do with that blog query and apply it to the page manager. And while we're doing that, we will address the much blogged about timestamp issue. We will not get to password protecting yet, although we might have to do it soon, depending on how much longer these blogs go in, and whether they stay pleasant, which I do appreciate people using it. I've been waiting for someone to finally hop in there and tinker with it. But also, we also noticed that the footer is not being cleared, so we'll take care of that too. Alright, so let's take care of this footer situation. As some of you have noted, that it is a clearing issue, and it's actually not. In fact, I read that and I just went searching for the reason why we were having a clearing issue, and then I realized there's no reason why we should have a clearing issue. Nothing's being floated here. This should not be overlapping. However, what we did do is when we first made this, let's open up our CSS, we allowed for, before we had some content, we set the content div to be a specific height. Let's change that to minimum height. Now it will expand. That is the issue here. The content area is being stuck at 500 pixels. So if we save this and upload it, refresh, there we go. So no, it's not a clearing issue, but good call, because usually that is what the issue is. Many times when you see an overlap like that, it's because you have things floated and you're not clearing it below. Now let's make sure we go ahead and do that in the admin as well. So we'll open up the CSS in the admin, find the content area, change that to min height, save and upload. Now let's go and address the timestamp issue. Go ahead and close these. Open up the admin folder, look in content, and grab blog.php. Okay, so there's a couple different ways to address this. I talked to one of our viewers, Aaron, earlier today, and gave him one example. It's kind of the quick, I'd say dirty, but it's not really the quick and dirty way. It's more the quick and type heavy. There's ways we can go about this, I believe, that don't require us to have to duplicate the query, which is what I showed Aaron. And to do this, I'm going to try something. Because in theory, the issue is that we're sending a empty value to the date field. And I've mentioned this before. There is a difference between empty and null. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the date to null if it is empty, which in theory, which I haven't tested it yet, and I could have tested it, but I want to test it on the video. In theory, the null value will then tell MySQL there isn't any value here. Go ahead and put in the timestamp or the current timestamp. So let's try that. Let's go ahead and do date equals post date if date is equal to that, nothing, or well, not nothing, but empty, then date equals null. And then we need to change this to just simply date, save and upload, and we'll give this a whirl. So we'll go to our blog admin here, and let's try it out. So we'll put in a title, skip the blog date, and go for it. Now let's take a look at it. No, we failed. So since that didn't work, we're going to go about this a different way. We're still not going to do it the way that I explained earlier yet. We're going to go ahead and use PHP, which I know this kind of goes against what I said earlier in the previous videos when we were setting up the database, that it's, you know, it'd be nice to just get the current timestamp tossed in there. But let's explore this option. PHP has a date function that allows us to grab the current timestamp. And here are all the codes similar to MySQL that allow us to make up how the date's supposed to look. So let's try this. Instead of rewriting the whole query, let's take this null out and replace it with date, the date function. And then we just need to tell it how we want it to be entered in. So let's look down this list here really quick. I already know that capital Y is what we want for the year. So we want capital Y. We want the double-digit number of the month, so lowercase m. And then lowercase d for the double-digit representation of the day of the month. So that's the start here. So in quotes, because this is technically a string that we're sending it, it's going to convert that string into the date. Capital Y for the 4-digit year, dash, lowercase m for the 2-digit month, and lowercase d for the day. Now we want the time. So we want the 24-hour format of the hour with the leading zeros, so H. We want the minutes and the seconds, so I always remember this, his. So we want space, capital H, colon, I, colon, S. So now this will turn date, the date variable, into this proper format here. Save and upload. Let's try it again. So we'll click on the blog manager, add a new post. No date. Save the changes. Now let's try this one. There we go. And that is the current timestamp. Now, the issue with this, and some people have already mentioned this to me, is that this is the timestamp of where the server is, or what the server is set to. So this can bring on some other issues. I'm going to leave this at this right now, because at least we want the timestamp to actually have a timestamp. We can work on the how to convert, or the options of what to do with the time, because there's different options. There's HTML5 now has some really nice, quick, easy tools to bring a drop-down list for the date and things like that. However, whether that's compatible with everything yet is kind of in question. We can also create separate fields for the time to make sure that we get the right time, and allow people to use like a drop-down box and pick the time or type in the digits, etc. There's a couple different things we can do. Or you can click, maybe we can just choose your time zone, or maybe we can have a settings area here in this admin panel where you personally can say, this is the time zone I'm in, and we will tell PHP to automatically deduct the amount of time from General Mountain Time. So those are some options. We're not going to explore those just yet. We're going to look at this query like I promised before we run out of time. And I do want to make sure I note this. One of the reasons why we do have things like glitches and things like that a little more than in the previous videos and series, I am making an effort to try and make the videos a little shorter. It both benefits us and it benefits you too. It benefits us because we get more content out there, which generates more revenue, allows me to keep making more videos. For you guys, from a lot of people I've heard, doing an hour-and-a-half video can be a little cumbersome. So we're trying to keep these things in nice, smaller sizes here. So some of these things are going to come up, but I like the fact that you guys get to see this, bring them into my attention, and then I can address them, so that also helps too. I don't have to go back and undo or redo a video. So let's now take a look at what we're going to do to the query. So MySQL has this great function, well, it's not really a function, but this capability in place where we can combine an insert and an update query together. And what it does is it basically says, if a duplicate key is sent through the query, update rather than insert. So in layman's terms, if you're editing a blog entry or a page, then an ID is going to be sent with it. And we're going to put the ID in the insert query. And what's going to happen is it's going to say, oh wait, this ID already exists, so go ahead and do this on duplicate key update. And that's where we're going to put things. So this will make more sense once we use it. So we go back to Dreamweaver. We're going to go ahead and put the ID back in here. Copy this, paste it, change this to ID. This is still okay because we're going to get rid of this if. So this will still read that this ID is empty, and it'll do an automatic increment. So we're okay by taking that out. But what we need to do now is tell MySQL, and I'm going to bump this down to another line just so everybody can see it. We'll say on duplicate key update. And we're basically going to take all of this here and move it in here. And let's go ahead and comment this out just in case we made a mistake. So let's go through this really quick. It's going to run the insert query, and if it recognizes that the ID that we're sending it already exists, meaning we just use the edit form rather than the empty form for adding, then it's going to skip this insert and run this clause here on duplicate key. Go ahead and do an update. So it's basically doing the same thing, just a little less code, a little less wordy, just a little easier to. Before I do that, we want this to be get and this to be get, because that's what our if was getting. And before we do anything else, I did just also realize, sorry, it's late / early here. I couldn't sleep, so I figured I'd do this video. get rid of this where clause. We don't need the where clause. We already know what the ID is. And one more thing. Get rid of set. Save and upload. Let's go ahead and click on this first post we made. Add something. And there you go. We saved it. So, sorry I had to troubleshoot my own work for a minute there. But obviously I need to do that since we now have glitches. But so you see what we did there. So let's go ahead and get rid of this update here. And so now we've made things just a little cleaner. And let's see. Now we can apply this same idea to our pages. So let's just go ahead and copy this here. Go over to pages. And toss it in here at the top. Now we already know we don't need the date. We need to change some of these names. This is name. And let's see. We have title, name, and body. So title and name. Do the same down here. And remove this date here. Change that to name. And let's scroll down. We need to get rid of our first insert query. There we go. And everything should work pretty much the same. The only thing we need now is the add page button or link. Let's toss that right here. Change this to is it pages. And new page. Save and upload. Now let's go over to our page manager. Oh, there was another thing that we did on there. We did things with the title and all that too, so let's do that too really quick. We need to get this out of there because we want this form to show up no matter what now, just like on the blog. So we need to put that curly bracket up here instead. Then let's toss this else in there. Actually, let's go ahead and grab all this. And we'll replace this that we just made there. So change this to add a new page. And let's see. We need the H tags. So, get this H1 tag here. And here's a trick with Dreamweaver if you don't already know it. If we wanted to get a closing tag for this really quick, delete this, do that. Just add it back and it'll automatically do that if you have your settings right. Let's scoot that out. Let's scoot this form back here. Alright, so I did this kind of blindly, so don't be surprised if we have me coming back here a couple more times, but let's cross our fingers and hope I did it right. So there, boom, we have add a new page, just like we do on the add a new blog post. And if we click on this, well, loads the same thing. So let's try and add a new page. excitement there. Let's do 3. And save. Did not work. You know why? We need to change that to pages. That was brilliant on my part. I knew there was going to be something. Let's hope that's the only something. So add new page. First new page. New page. All caps means we're yelling, but let's just throw some exclamation points just to make sure. Save. There it is, new page. Hooray. Now we have new pages. And that brings on the next thing that we're going to need to talk about in the next video. And that is the fact that this is not changing when we add new pages. So at this point, if we want to put a new page in here, we need to go into Dreamweaver here and open up our template functions and add a new page link here to that page with that page name, new page. So I'm going to go ahead and add that now, but we'll address that actually probably not in the next video, maybe in the next video. I haven't decided the order of things. I've got a lot of people asking about uploading images and files in general, so we might hop over to the gallery portion first. But until then, let's do this. And we don't have our status defaulted to 1, so it's not showing up. Let's change that in the structure really quick, and then this video will be done. Let's go change default as defined 1, save, and then go back to browse. Edit this. I don't know if anybody knows that, but you can edit this inline. Sometimes it's a little annoying. A little too much stuff going on here. Go ahead and save that. Go back. There we go. So for those who didn't catch that, our query to view the contents of a page, just in here, we have this and status equals 1, and our status wasn't automatically being set to 1 by default, so that's why the page contents didn't show up. So that's that. So next video we'll either work on the navigation and making that a little more dynamic, which might take a little more work than it seems. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Some flimsy, some kind of quick and dirty, some really in-depth. Or we will start working on the gallery, which is probably more likely. So until then.